Guys, what's going on? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and today we're going to talk about the Schiit HEL 2 amp DAC combo. Amp DAC because it not only powers your headphones, but there's a processor inside that can take USB and optical signals in and convert it to a usable signal for the amplifier. So this does a few things in a tiny little box. So $200. There are different things you can get online, of course. We're going to talk about competitors later and different models because Schiit makes more than one product. This to me is like the bread and butter amp DAC combo for gaming. So as I mentioned, $199.99. There are a few good things to point out here. So obviously you have this really nice all metal construction. It's aluminum. It's heavy. It has a lot of weight to it. It's surprising because usually when you get into more affordable audio products, you know, for headphones, they tend to be all plastic. They don't have a lot of weight to them. They just don't feel as premium as the big amplifier stuff like the one I have behind me to my left. So the build quality is there. Now it only comes in one color wash, so it's all black with a little bit of red, I guess, you know, to pay homage to the name HEL. The HEL 2, this is the new version, so if you have USB-C in the back, you have the HEL 2. If you have micro USB, you have the older one. Now, not only do they add USB-C, but they also have a new auto switching system in there called UAC1, UAC2 auto switching. That stands for USB Audio Class version 1, version 2. Version 1 came out in the 90s, and you would think that'd be gone by now, but the new gaming consoles, I guess in this case the PlayStation and the Switch, they still use UAC version 1. So what's amazing about this, and the most important thing I want to say right off the bat, is this works with the PlayStation 5 with a USB connection to the console. One USB goes for power, the other one to the PlayStation. It will detect this as the actual processor, so it'll say Schiit HEL 2 right on it. And now you can use a very premium product for your volume control and also a really good phono preamp that works with pretty much every gaming headset out there. So just to quickly cover what's in the box. Obviously you get the Schiit HEL 2 amp DAC. They give you a few little things in here which kind of makes the use case or ease of use greater. So some gaming headsets, they have what's called the TRRS cable, a single cable that has your microphone and your headphone audio all in one. That's where you see the 4 bands on the headphone cable. So you can't plug that into just the headphone amp on this because then the mic won't work and it's not good for the amplifier. So you plug it into this included Y adapter. The Y adapter then turns it into your microphone and headphone out. And now you can use either a headset that has TRRS, like the SteelSeries Arctis Prime, which is a $100 gaming headset, and connect it to the Schiit HEL 2 to have a more premium powered listening experience. I mentioned the USB power and dual cables. It includes a USB wall wart. It looks like a cell phone charger, pretty straightforward, but this is 2.1 amps. Strongly recommend using this. I would not use it without this. It's labeled clearly on the back of the amp, which one is power, which is the middle one. And this gives you the juice it needs to power your headphones because this thing has some serious power. We'll get into that in a moment, but it will work with dual USB to a host device like a PlayStation or a laptop, for example, if you're in a pinch, but you're severely holding back the capability of the amp. I don't know how much damage it would do, but it's definitely not going to hit the power level that it's capable of doing. So always use that, and you'll see why when I start talking about specs because it's insane. All right, going into the general layout of the HEL 2, on the back, I already mentioned you have the dual USB-C. You have an optical port on the back, which means you can connect it to a television that has an optical out, or an Xbox, an older one with optical, or if you used an audio extractor to give you optical. This doesn't allow you to use the microphone for Xbox, but it does let you amplify the signal coming from the Xbox to have a really clean sound. The other thing I really like on this is it has nice tactile switches. There's a big power switch on the back that sticks out. It's not this little plastic button, and when you flick it, it's a very rewarding experience. Not only does it feel great flicking that switch up and down, but you have kind of a satisfying click. And that continues on in the front, but I'll talk about that in a moment, because the last thing I want to point out is this has a preamp on the back. This line out only works if there's no headphone connected to the front. So if you want to use this as a DAC, basically you're taking the USB signal in from your PlayStation. You can run this line out to a computer for audio capture, for example. Just switch the front to low gain, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then just max out your volume because you're not connected to a headset. That sends out a traditional preamp signal, allowing you to take the audio source and send it back out. So that's kind of nice. Not a lot of use cases if you have your headphones removed, but at least it's good to give you that option. The HEL 2 ditched the analog input in order to give you optical and all this USB-C upgrades that they did. So to me, it was worth it, but I just want to mention that too. The HEL 1 had aux in. So on the front, you have a second knob here, and this is the volume for your microphone sensitivity or your gain setting for your microphone. So if you have something like the SteelSeries Arctis Prime, traditionally a quieter mic, you can just turn the volume up and boost it. Then if you switched over to something like the EPOS H6 Pro that I reviewed recently, much more sensitive microphone, you won't need as much gain. This is helpful if you're a streamer and you either talk quietly because you're playing at night. Now you have a really good analog clean signal to change the volume of your mic. But if you tend to scream a lot, you can turn it down and that'll prevent your source from clipping out. A lot of good dynamic range with this, by the way. So you're not going to get a lot of distortion even with a large volume swing. So again, that favors the whole streamer, higher quality audio side. This is a very clean phono preamp, so if you're worried about hissing or sound quality issues, you're not going to have that. We'll get into the sound quality later, but I wanted to mention it. Then you have a switch for optical versus PC / PlayStation switch, if you will, so USB versus optical mode. Then you have a high and low gain setting. The high and low gain setting is a massive change in power output. In most cases, for what most people buy, the low gain setting is more than enough. And to put that in perspective, a lot of headphone companies rate their specs a little bit differently on voltage versus milliwatts or watts. So on the low gain setting with this, you have a 1.3 volt output. On low gain, if you have a Sennheiser EPOS 1000 or a 1200, which is a $200 to $240 amp DAC from Sennheiser, that maxes out at 1 volt. So this is more powerful on the low gain setting than a more expensive amp DAC maxed out. Now the Sound Blaster X3 on high gain, the maximum output that does is 2.9 volts. This on high gain does 8. The power output is ridiculous, and I'm going to show you how loud it gets when we connect it to some big planar headphones. But I love that they give you a high-low gain. Basically, keep it in low. It gives you a less sensitive volume knob so you can really fine-tune the sound level you want to hear it at. And if you find that you're at near max volume and you're just not getting the juice or power you want, turn it back down, boost the gain, and now you have a lot more power to work with. It's like slapping a turbo or nitrous on a car. It's just way, way more powerful. So, and then of course, what would I be without mentioning the top volume knob, that big, glorious volume knob that is very smooth, just enough resistance to feel high quality, but you can operate it with one finger, which I really like because if you're gaming, you just reach, you don't want to have to crank a dial. So you have a nice heavy bass with a light to touch volume and a fairly light to touch. It seems stiffer because it's smaller, but a very easy to adjust microphone gain. So that's the layout and the build quality. Now, before I get into all the detailed specs, I want to talk about sound quality and mic quality. So this uses an AKM 4490 DAC. That's a very high quality DAC. It's found in some gear that costs as much as $500. So you're getting a really high quality chip here. That's doing your audio processing. And without going way down a deep rabbit hole on specs and technical deep dive, because this video will run way too long, the idea of this is to have a clean signal. Low noise floor is crucial on high-end headphones. What that means is if I turn the volume up really high and I'm listening to, let's say, a classical song, something that has a silent moment, my volume's still high, but the source is very quiet. I don't have a hiss or a hum or a buzz or something that's an underlying noise at the bottom level of the sound. That means it's incredibly clear. It can drive you crazy if you hear any kind of a hiss on higher end expensive stuff. So the fact that through USB power, this isn't using some linear power supply, it's a standard USB power rail. Granted, they do a lot of stuff on the filtering side, but through USB power, you get an incredible clean sound, which is commendable because the versatility of a chassis like this that can run off of USB with that little adapter I showed you is great. You get tons of flexibility there. So the noise floor is great. As far as the sound profile goes, I found, and I'm glad I had this product for as long as I've had. I've used this for about 4 months now, 5 months. So big kudos for Schiit for being so patient with me. They sent this out to me months ago. But I don't think I fully appreciated it until I used it for so long. It's been my workhorse amp DAC, and I use this to power and do a lot of microphone tests on all my headset reviews. This is always my go-to because it's a constant and it works with everything. So anyway, the way the sound quality is tuned, I think it's a little bit more lively and musical sounding. What I mean by that is some headphone amps can be kind of laid back and sterile or dull, which can be good for certain music because it's a little less fatiguing to listen to by being smoother. But you got to keep in mind, this is a gaming amp DAC. So you don't want it laid back because you don't want it to suck out the detail and the presence and the awareness of whatever headset or headphone you're using. Now, if you pair this with an overly bright headset, it will not dull that down at all. You can do it with custom EQ tuning, which I'll talk about after, but I just want to point that out. If you tend to prefer a very soft, laid-back sound profile, this isn't it out of the box, just tune it. But the power is there to work with basically everything you have. I found that the deep, deep bass isn't as present when I compare it to my JDS Labs Atom Stack. That's a $200 amp stack as well with the DAC, but that only works on PC. It has no microphone preamp input and no optical. So at the $200 price point, to me, this gives you a lot more versatility. And if you're a gamer, this is your only option because it has the microphone input. JDS did a amp DAC or Atom Stack Plus, which adds optical, I believe now, but it still doesn't give you the mic. So at this price point, nothing's really touching it on sound quality and, again, versatility for the microphone. All right, now I talked about microphone quality, and now I'm talking to you on the H6 Pro. This will sound similar to the H6 Pro review I did because I used the exact same amp DAC combo for recording that on my desktop. So very, very clear sound. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just want to show you how amazing it is that you can plug any analog headset into this and have this analog control. So if I want to speak a little bit quieter, I can. All I have to do is turn the volume down, which I just did. Now my voice is softer, and if I want to go back up, now my microphone is a little bit more lively, has more volume again. It's just as easy as turning a knob. I don't have to mess with Windows or my streaming software to adjust it and click with the mouse, which can be a pain if you are streaming with a limited setup and you don't have time to adjust all that. Just do it right on the HEL 2 and it works absolutely painlessly. All right, now I'm just going to play some music using these planar magnetic headphones with the microphone off camera so you can see just how loud this thing gets because it's ridiculous. So I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not going to change the volume level of the mic. I'm just going to hit play and let's turn this up. And just so you don't think I'm doing anything crazy, do you see where the volume knob is? How it's that low? I'm going to go just past the halfway mark and you're going to hear the same volume. Look how much power this thing has. That's like, earlobe slapping your skull levels of power output. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is a $3,500 pair of headphones. This is the Hi-Fiman HE1000 SE. Planar magnetic, ridiculous power handling. And if you could tell, even with a shotgun mic off camera, I'm powering that on a $200 amp DAC with mic support, powered by USB. It's amazing how much juice this thing kicks out. So I just want to stress and emphasize that. Don't feel like if you have a $1,000 pair of headphones that you can't benefit from a $200 amp DAC. You don't have to spend another $500 to $1,000 on an amp DAC combo to get the most out of your headphones. The other thing that this opens up for, the reason why I like the whole versatility of the HEL 2, is when you pair it with something like this. This is an Antlion Mod Mic Uni. It's a $50 microphone, comes with a little magnetic attachment. So I'm not going to spend all the time plugging it in to save time on the review, but you notice there's a little clip on the side. I just snap it on like that, and then boom. And all of a sudden, I have a very expensive gaming headset with a really high quality microphone. So I'm going to talk now on that. And we're doing this, look at that. So now I'm talking to you on the Antlion Mod Mic Uni, and I'm using very expensive planar magnetic headphones for gaming. So the versatility is there, and that's a big point of the HEL 2 that I'm trying to help people understand, because it's not like you're just getting mic and headphone support. There's so much you can do with this, and it's really nice if you plan on upgrading headsets down the road. Now, as far as specs go, without going way too deep on this, I just want to say it uses the AKM 4490 DAC. I mentioned that earlier. It's a great DAC chip. The output stage is the TI OPA 1656. Uses a 4 amp stage per channel output. All that translates to, just to keep it simple for you guys, it's very clean, very high powered sound. Okay, that's not having that hum or noise I was talking about. It's not generating a buzzing sound, and there's also no noticeable distortion. The distortion levels are extremely low, and what happens is on some other cheaper products, you crank the volume, some of the distortion is actually coming from the amplifier. It's not just your headphones, so that's really sucking the detail and energy and clarity out of your headset. So it's great that they have all that. The end result, again, is just really clean, high-powered sound. Now, when you get into the power output, I mentioned the voltage earlier. Typically, you see wattage used on more expensive amps. I just want to put that in perspective for the gaming-oriented products. Now, if you don't need that extra juice, I just want to also mention this. So, gaming controllers, which is what most people plug a nice gaming headset like this into, have 20 to 40 milliwatts at 32 ohms. It doesn't even matter if you know what that means. That's basically the power output of the headphone amp on the controller. 20 to 40 milliwatts. This has 1,200 milliwatts at 32 ohms on high gain. That's, I mean, if you know the numbers, 40 milliwatts versus 1,200, that's massive. If you don't quite need that insane power output, the HEL 2 is $200. They have a Fulla, which is $109. I'll put a link in the description for that below. The Fulla still has 200 milliwatts at 32 ohms. So gaming controller, 40 milliwatts. Fulla is 200 milliwatts. This is that is 1,200 milliwatts. So a lot more power output. It just kind of puts it in perspective. The Fulla doesn't have obviously as much power output, but it also doesn't have an adjustable mic gain as well. It's just a more simplified product. There's no high gain, low gain switch. It's a small compact unit. To me, I would just spend the extra $90 and upgrade, because that extra power handling is great if you're doing higher end audio products that could benefit from all that extra juice. All right, so we've talked about the specs. We've talked about what it works on. We've talked about audio quality, microphone quality, and how this stacks up to the competitors. I'm going to be honest and say there are only a couple things I can notice that are lacking, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's because of what Schiit visions you should get for $200 versus what other companies do. There's no virtualization software on this. There's no graphical EQ processing for the microphone or the output. You straight up give it a signal and it's going to send you a crazy high-powered output that's clean. Now, if you need to do custom EQ on PC, you can do that, because you can just download Equalizer APO. It's an open source software. Throw the Piece add-on on there. I'll put descriptions in the or links in the description below. That allows you to do your own custom EQ profile. If you use this on Xbox with Optical, you can use the Dolby Atmos app for custom EQ, and on PlayStation, there's some basic adjustments there. But honestly, if you have a good headset, which most people are going to have when they're connecting it to something like this, you're not going to care too much about the EQ. This is just, to me, more important to have a good high-powered output that's clean than it is to have all these other things like RGB and changing my voice. This is a premium product that doesn't overcomplicate things. So keep it simple and keep it clean. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys found this review helpful. I'm going to put a link in the description below for this product, of course, along with the other things we mentioned to help make it easier for you to understand. This can get very complicated. It's deceivingly simple looking, but there's just so much it can do. It's been my go-to amp DAC for a reason. I have more expensive gear, but I love how simple this is to use. I love that it's portable, and it's just so consistent. It works with every single thing I have, so I don't have to change configurations. Just plug it in and go. I couldn't love this product more. So a huge thanks to Schiit for sending this out. Again, I'm not biased. I have other amp DACs that I've been sent to review as well. This is just, when you do these back and forth listening tests, it becomes apparent why this is so good at the price point. So anyway, thank you guys for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to be releasing reviews on the other amp DACs soon, so you can get other comparisons, but I hope this helped make your decision today. As always, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.